is the Harvey Mudd Machine Shop Spring 2023 shop user orientation. If you just got here or haven't done so yet, please scan the QR code and put all that info in so we know you were here, and E4 knows you were here if you're here for E4. But let's get started.
There will be another QR code at the end.
At the
if you
end,
missed it.
so yeah, if someone comes in late. Yeah, sweet. Well, to start things off, we are shop management. I am Luke. I am one of the head shop proctors for the Harvey Mudd Machine Shop.
Hi, I'm Ole. I'm trying to give you that mic. I'm Ole. I'm the other head shop proctor.
I'm Gabriel. I'm one of the associate head shop proctors.
I'm Brayden. I'm also an associate head shop proctor. Liza cannot be with us today, but she is our head shop improvement proctor. And then collectively, we are Drew Price.
Sweet. So shop users, who uses the shop during the year? So as you might expect, E4 students, which hopefully we have a lot of those here. Then we have clinic students, people in micro Ps, which was offered last semester, aviation with Prof. Harris, makers, other classes, and people from off campus can use the shop as well. And I'll pass it off to Gabriel.
So the things to know when you're using the student shop is that before you can do anything, you have to check in with a proctor on duty. You should see all proctors wearing a beautiful yellow apron that says Machine Shop Proctor somewhere on it. So go talk to one of them. They'll get you checked in and they'll swipe your ID to make sure that you're shop certified. And then they will hold on to your ID for the duration of however long you're working in the shop. And that's just so that we know who's in the shop and we can check you guys out safely. Part of checking in is being shop safe. So we have a lot of safety guidelines that we'll go over later, and you want to make sure that you're following all of those before you even step foot into the shop. The shop is a very dangerous place. It's a fun place, but dangerous place. So you really want to make sure that you're following all safety precautions before you enter the shop. Additionally, our shop is a student-centered learning machine shop. So we understand that you may break some tools. You may, ruin your hammerhead a couple times and need some extra material. So whatever you break or whatever you need replaced, we have a form that you'll fill out to indicate that it's broken, and then you'll have to pay a $3 fee for whatever it is that you're broken. And so that just makes the shop a little bit more accessible. So even if you break, an expensive cutting tool, a machine, something like that, it is still only a $3 fee. That being said, please do not break the tools. We only have a limited number of them, and you all need them for your projects. But in case it happens, don't break. Next, report all injuries to a proctor. So we're very proud that our shop has not had any serious injuries, but people get nicked or cut or scraped on something on a semi-regular basis. And so we want to make sure that you're reporting all of those injuries to the proctor, so that they can fill out a form, they can be documented, and then shop management and Drew can see where students are getting injured, what's happening, if we need to change anything, or teach the proctor something else. So that's just really helpful for us to improving the shop, as well as the safety and well-being of everyone in the shop. Next is when we go into the shop later, or for those who've already seen the shop, there's a lot of tools on a big metal rack that you will use occasionally in the shop. You will use calipers all the time. They're on that tool rack. And so for everything on that rack, you need to sign out the tools so that we know where they are. And we can know who has them, when to check them in. I think last semester, someone walked off with a pair of calipers accidentally. They had them in their bag. And so we were able to use the sign out sheet to find them and make sure that we had enough tools in the shop for all the students. So that's super important. Make sure you're signing it out and checking in with a proctor regularly. The next rule is kind of a shop capacity rule. For every one proctor in the machine shop, you can have 6 machines running. And machines, those can be your mill, lathe, in the wood shop, or even just if you're hammering or screwing stuff in, we kind of count that as a machine as well. So it's not necessarily 6 people to one proctor. If you're working with a partner on a mill, that happens a lot during your E4 final project. But that being said, the shop does reach capacity sometimes, and you may need to put your name on the wait list or come back in 20 to 30 minutes to use the shop. And finally, you'll have a process router for everything you do in E4. That process router is super comprehensive, very helpful. When in doubt, look to that, follow the router, it covers all the steps, and has some useful tips. So, as I mentioned, we have a lot of, different safety rules. So before you walk into the shop, you have to make sure that you are wearing shop safe clothes and your hair's tied back, you don't have anything on your wrists, anything like that. You are shop certified. That is obviously one of the most important parts, that you pass the safety test. And finally, the machine shop is a mask friendly zone. If a proctor on shift wants their users to wear masks, they can require it for all the proctors. So if you see a sign on the door that says masks required, you need a mask as well. And we do have extra masks in the shop, but most of the time masks are optional in the shop, so don't worry too much about that. So when you walk into the shop, if you want to sanitize and wash your hands, do that first. That can be helpful to finding out if you have any cuts on your hand before you walk in the shop. Check in with a proctor, give them your ID, make sure you're shop certified, talk to them about what you're going to be doing. Our proctors are very nice. They have lots of friendly advice. So, check in with them, talk to them, so then they know what you're doing. Then check out whatever tools you need. If you need your calipers, if you need a hammer box when you're making the E4 hammer, and then go to an open machine. And if you want, we have some Lysol wipes around to sanitize stuff. It can get pretty, greasy and dirty in there. Yeah. So when you're leaving the shop, this is, equally as important. Make sure you are cleaning up your tools and workstations. So a lot of the stuff we do in the shop makes a huge mess. Wood chips everywhere, metal shavings everywhere. Make sure you're cleaning up after yourself, cleaning up all, the chips that you made, putting the tools back, checking everything back in. If anything's broken, report that to the proctor, so that no one else has to use it. And they will make sure that your workspace is clean, and then once it is clean, they will give you your ID back, and then you can head out of the shop. So as I mentioned, the COVID policies in the shop, right now we're kind of just following the MUD policy. So if MUD changes their rules to say that masks are required at any point, hopefully they do not, we will have to go in that direction. Until then, it's up to the proctor on duty whether they want to require masks or not. And so if they require masks, you do need to wear them. They will not let you check in if you're not wearing a mask. So if the sign says mask required, do that. Otherwise, whatever you feel comfortable with is safe.
Okay, cool. Just to reiterate what Gabriel just said, make sure before you leave, you clean up your workstation. Give yourself at least 10 minutes after you plan on being done with your project to vacuum up the floor around your machine, vacuum the machine, wipe it down, put all your things away. Don't leave all the wood stock dirty. Just make sure all your things are clean, all your things are put away, and check back in. So now we're going to talk about a little bit of shop common sense. Just some general solid rules to follow when you are doing anything in the shop. First of all is to be conscious, just to be aware of yourself and your surroundings. Second one is to be sober. This is a general rule for MUD on ACK-End. No alcohol or other substances. That's not safe to have in the shop around the machines. So don't come in if you have had alcohol or anything like that, or don't bring any of those things into the shop. Another thing I was going to add on that, sometimes cough medicine or other medicines will say on the back of the box, don't operate heavy machinery while you're taking the medicine, and a lathe and a mill and other machines that we have in the shop count. So if you start taking cold and flu medicine or something, make sure you check the box so you'll be safe to go in the shop. Sound good? Okay. Next is to be alert. Make sure that you get enough sleep, and that'll keep you aware of what's happening around you. Reaction time is always a good thing in the shop if something goes wrong. So if you pulled an all-nighter, don't come into the shop the next day. It's not going to keep you and those around you the most safe. Next, be shop certified. Already talked about that. Make sure your safety quiz is up to date. Next, be COVID cognizant, as Gabriel talked about. And finally, be no PDA. I don't want to tell you to not do that, so just don't. Okay, safety glasses, super important. Eyesight is a wonderful thing. So make sure you wear them in the shop. Before you even step foot into the shop, make sure your safety glasses are on your face. We have a couple extra loaner pairs if you ever forget yours, but don't rely on those. They get kind of gross and sometimes we run out. So make sure you bring your own safety glasses with you. If you're an E4, you'll get your first pair for free. After that, if you want to buy yourself another pair or you lose yours, you can buy them from the proctor on shift for $1. It's helpful to write your initials on the side just so you can keep up and know which ones are yours. If you want to buy your own super cool fancy safety glasses, just make sure they follow this rating. Okay, shop attire. Things to be aware of to keep yourself safe as you're machining. First, before you check in, make sure that you have a mask if the proctor is requiring that. Make sure you rolled up long sleeves or take a jacket off. It's really easy for your sleeves or other things hanging off your arm to get caught in a spinning machine, and it won't just take your sleeve with it, it'll take your whole arm too. So no sleeves hanging down. Next is to remove any earbuds or jewelry. No headphones in the shop. Dangly ones are unsafe because that can get stuck in something, but also AirPods and other like wireless headphones aren't great because that keeps you from being able to hear what's going on around you. And that's your hearing can be a really useful tool in the shop because it lets you know if you're doing everything right or hear maybe someone else around you is doing something wrong and helps you to stay aware. No jewelry, no long necklaces, no watches on your wrist. Make sure you take your Apple Watch off, and no hair ties on your wrist. Yeah, nothing on your wrist. If you do have a bracelet that you can't take off or something, we have some tape that you can tape it up with. But yeah, make sure it's tight up against your skin. You have to be wearing closed-toed and closed-heeled shoes, so no Crocs in the shop. I'm sorry. I really wish I could wear my Crocs in the shop, but it's not safe. No, like those Birks, the Boston Birks that have like an open heel. Can't wear those. Can't wear your flip-flops. So yeah, make sure you are wearing closed-toed shoes. Tie back your hair if it's Luke's length or longer is kind of what solid guideline is. Yeah, just to make sure it doesn't get caught in the machine. If you have dangly pieces down in the front, you can also tie those back if they're too long. Nothing that is like hanging down past your mouth or on your face at all.
Okay, my mic just turned off. But next would be to remove any hoodie danglies, these kind of things on your hoodies. You can either take them all the way out or just tie them up and tuck them in to make sure that they're not hanging down off your sweatshirt. Okay, a real life situation. Oh no, you're headed to the shop. Your hammer is due in an hour. You haven't started. What is this user doing wrong? We can't let them in the shop. Why?
Yell it out. Yeah, shout it out.
Sandals. Open toe. Headphones hanging down. Long sleeves, hair not tied back.
On a skateboard.
On a skateboard, that's not very safe.
No pants.
Yeah, the flowy dress, it can be, I'll talk about skirts in a second, but that can be a little funky. Anything else? Yeah, maybe probably stayed up all night doing all her other homework because that's the life of a mother. No safety glasses. Anything else? I think y'all got most of them. Okay, so long sleeves, long hair not tied back, headphones hanging down, flip-flops, wheels in the shop, flowy dress, no safety glasses, and the hoodie danglies hanging down. So dresses and skirts can kind of be a gray area sometimes. So that's a little difficult. To judge, but anything. Thanks.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yes.
Never mind.
Okay. I'll just bring that. Okay, skirts and dresses. If they're too flowy, they can get caught in something easily, so make sure you're not wearing a super flowy dress. But sometimes if they're too tight, it can kind of make it difficult to move around. There's some machines that like you need to hit a button with your knee if anything goes wrong. So no skirts or dresses too tight or too loose. That's up to proctor discretion. If the proctor thinks it's unsafe, they'll ask you to go back and change. So just be respectful towards them.
The other thing to note is that some machine shops require that you wear pants, because you can have like hot chips coming down. We don't require you to wear pants, especially when it gets really hot. That being said, sometimes hot chips fly and hit your legs if you're not wearing pants. If that happens, you'll wear pants next time probably. That being said, I still wear shorts in the shop. I know Luke does. Just at your own discretion, as long as it's not gonna get caught in the machine. Yeah.
But it gets hot in the shop.
It can get hot in the shop and like in the summer or just like probably not. It doesn't get that
Not
hot,
really too hot.
Yeah.
It's just
but it gets like a little warm.
temperature.
It's SoCal, so you have to walk outside to get anywhere. The shop will be regularly temperatured.
There is
Sure,
AC. If that's what you're
regular.
wondering. There is AC. It gets a little bit warmer than maybe a classroom, but it's mostly like when the warm months, it's warm.
Okay, gloves. To be clear, no gloves should be worn around rotating parts. Most of our saws, mills, lathes all have rotating parts. So do not be wearing gloves around any of those machines. Like I mentioned earlier, it's really easy to get caught and take your whole hand with it. We don't want that to happen to anyone here. So no gloves around spinning parts. The one time when gloves could be useful is if you're working with sheet metal, because oftentimes you're using machines that do like bending and snapping and not rotating. So, and it can have really sharp edges. So sometimes gloves for sheet metal, but other than that, gloves should not be worn in the shop.
All right, so, yeah, so the shop's it's a really great place. It's a lot of things. It's a great place to learn, great place to hang out, have fun. But if we don't follow safety protocols, the shop is also a very dangerous place. So this is a very real thing. A little over a decade ago, someone at Yale died in a machine shop because they were in there alone, so they had no safety buddy to call for help when things go on, and their hair got caught in a lathe. And then the rest of the story is pretty gruesome. So it's really important, like, to keep safety as the #1 priority. You always have follow the shop common sense. Look out for yourself, look out for those around you. We have not had any significant incidents yet because the Harvey Mudd Machine Shop community, which is a 5C community, has been very vigilant and disciplined in their practices. And this is also why Harvey Mudd is I think the only college in the nation that has a student-run machine shop. We have hours ranging from noon to like 10 p.m. regularly scheduled. They're not always our machine shop manager is not always around for those. So that means like it's students in charge of the safety and of the protocols. So to have something so special like that stay around, we can't have any incidents. So one bad thing ruins it all. Also, one serious incident is one too many. So please keep that in mind. It's a fun place. It's a great place for learning, but we have to keep it safe first. All right, so a couple of don'ts. These are kind of more guidelines. They're not exhaustive, but good things to think about, especially if it's your first time in a machine shop. Don't reach where you can't see. Oftentimes there's moving parts or sharp parts. Sharp things are sharp, you can get cut. Don't leave a machine running while unattended. This one happens a little more often, and you have to be more active about making sure, especially if you're not experienced. So whenever you turn, like for example, if you like turn on a bandsaw, when you turn it off, it's still running, right? The bandsaw is still coasting, so you can't leave anything coasting. So you have to either wait for it to stop so that you can be there in case anything goes wrong, or put the brakes on. Once everything is stationary, that's when you're allowed to leave the machine. Don't leave keys in chucks. So keys are used to tighten chucks, which hold tools or hold parts. And chucks spin. So if you leave a key inside of a chuck and turn on the machine, the key becomes a bullet, and that's very dangerous. Don't distract someone else while working on the machine. Again, point on safety, I'm not gonna elaborate on that, and don't be distracted while working on machines. All right, so a couple of do's. This is good for both safety and also machining practice, design practice, all that good stuff. Think ahead, machining, especially if you haven't done it before, it'll probably take like about 3 to 4 times longer than you originally planned. So it's really important to think ahead, budget a lot of time, even if a task seems menial. When it comes to making things, a lot of processes take longer than one might expect. Pay attention. So as you become more seasoned in the shop, you will recognize shop sounds. And when things don't sound right or look right, even if you don't know what's wrong and everything is fine, it's okay. When in doubt, just stop it and call a proctor to lend you a hand, see if anything's wrong, fix anything that needs to be fixed. Don't force things. The whole point of machines is to assist you in anything that requires either a lot of precision or a lot of force. So if something feels like you have to push really, really hard or pull really hard, something's probably not set up right. So if you feel like you're forcing stuff, it's good to reevaluate or ask those around you or the proctor to help you make things easier. So work with and respect the proctor on duty. Yeah, the proctor team, we're all students. Just like you, we also have our lives to go about, including a lot of a heavy course load, which many of you are experiencing. So remember that proctors are there because they want to be there. They want to be helpful. They're there to help you, and we're not paid very much. Like, we don't do this because we're making bank. So be respectful to the proctors, please. That is really important to keep a healthy community going on. And if you are not, the proctors do have the ultimate say and the authority to kick you out of the shop. So please, let's not have that be an issue. And then with that, follow all the safety rules and protocols, always, that will be enforced. We need to keep everyone safe and happy. All right. So, we're at school to learn things because we don't know everything. So not knowing what to do is a very common thing. So when you're stuck in a problem, there are several things you can do. The quickest one is probably to ask the proctor. They're on duty, they're supposed to be cycling around, so wave them down or stop your machine and go get them. And then they'll get to you and address your issue as soon as they can. You can also ask Drew, who's the machine shop manager. He's typically on campus during like kind of the traditional working hours of 9 to 5 on weekdays. So keep that in mind if you have something that you know is like more complicated and not every shop proctor might know how to help you. So yeah, Drew's very knowledgeable, very good resource. You could also ask on the engineering or E4 discords. All engineering majors are on the engineering discord, like even people who aren't shop proctors can help you there. The E4 discord, shop management is there, so we could also help give advice on what to do in the shop. Another great resource, emailing shop proctors -L. So that email is going to be on the website, so don't worry about like writing it down right now, but that's a good way to contact all the proctors if you have any questions on technical things, or if you have any questions on logistical things, like if you want to work on something outside of the scheduled time, you can email shop proctors list and say, hey, can anyone open the shop like Sunday 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and then if someone is available, they can open it for you. And then yeah, the shop website also has a lot of stuff. We'll cover that bit. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, wait, in a bit is now. Sweet. So sorry, a second.
Yeah, so as Ollie mentioned, besides proctors and besides Drew and shop management, one of the great resources we have is the shop website. So if you want to find that, just Google HMC machine shop and it should be the first link. I think we've clicked it enough times. Still work in progress. We're consistently adding to it. So if you have any advice or feedback, we'd love to hear it. Yeah, let us know. Moving on to the shop schedule. So one really important thing. So first of all, this is our current schedule. I think there's a few differences, but this is kind of the general schedule for the 7-day week. But one really important thing to know is that the shop is hard closed from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. If you're in the shop, if a proctor's in the shop at this time, it's an honor code violation. We'll ask you to self-report. The main reason we have this is so we don't get sleep deprived engineers and students in the machine shop. As we mentioned, that's really bad. We don't want to lose the shop as a privilege. If you want to find the schedule, you can see it either outside the shop on the TV screen we have to the window, or you can go to the shop website that I mentioned. Let's say you want to go to the shop and use some of the machines outside one of these scheduled slots. What we'd ask you to do is, so one thing you could do is email shopproctors-l or shopproctors, search it on Gmail, you'll find it. Email us and someone might respond saying they can open up the shop for you. Another thing that could happen is sometimes shop proctors have free time and they just want to open up the shop for people. They'll send shop users an email saying they're opening the shop. And to be part of that email, you have to pass the safety quiz and then we'll add you to that email list. So if you've taken the safety quiz, you're on it.
The other thing to note is, like they mentioned earlier, we are students first. So please don't send like 10 emails or DM 9 people on Discord or like send personalized emails to us to open the shop. If you send it to shopproctors-l, we get your message. And there are so many people on the team who, if they have the time, will open the shop for you. If you don't get a response, it's usually because that week's a tough week for everyone. And people simply don't have the time to open the shop. So we do ask that you kind of respect us as students as well, and try not to go overboard in your means of contacting us.
Yeah, we share all this information, all these names as a resource to be helpful for the shop users and to make the kind of communication easier, but we really hope people don't abuse that privilege. Sweet. So here's some lovely screenshots from our lovely website. Bunch of different information on machines, different techniques. Good stuff. Check it out. Here are some tips for the E4 hammer. So if you're an E4, please start early. As Gabriel mentioned, you don't want to be the person coming into the shop like last week right before it's due. And again, we're students first as shop proctors. We might not have the time to kind of be at your convenience for that. So really try to plan regular shop time into your schedule. I think like the first few times, we're going to send out like slots that you can sign up for to kind of get you in the habit of working at regular shop times. Make sure you review drawings, process routers, and resources on the website. Definitely, this is a measure twice, cut once kind of thing. We as proctors have sadly seen people, get to like the second to last step on their hammer and they make a mistake because they didn't read something properly and they have to start all over. It's tragic. But yeah, you can always cut material smaller. And please, again, be respectful to us. We are students. Our job is to help you, not to clean up after you. So after you do something in the shop, please clean up. And proctors, their job is also to make sure that you have cleaned up.
And as we mentioned, the website has videos now of basically everything you need to do for your hammer. So go watch the videos. They are super helpful. They basically walk you through every step of the way. It's basically, yeah, just like a proctor over your shoulder telling you what to do the whole time. They're super helpful, and you can even pull them up on the computers in the shop when it's particularly busy, so you can watch them along with your process.
Not to mention the video stars some of your favorite shop proctors. Yeah. Okay, sweet. Another thing we offer through the shop are workshops. Keep an eye out for that. We'll send emails to the shop users, email chain. So some possible topics might include SolidWorks, going through different things for that. The ShopBot, that's our CNC router, a very popular tool that people want to learn. CNC milling and turning some of our machines, our milling and our mills and lathes have CNC functionalities, and then wood lathe tutorials. So I think Liza, who we mentioned at the beginning, does a lot of those. Here's some projects that people have worked on. We have some mini drinking glasses. We have a skateboard, machinist's cube, earrings, bunch of fun stuff. If you like see all these people on skateboards and you're like, wow, I wish I had one of those, you can make one here. It's pretty sweet. And that kind of concludes things. Before we end, I just want to remind people, if you just came in during the middle of this and didn't get a chance to scan this QR code, please do, because this is what it'll tell us that you came here. And we'll reminder to sign up for Ocarina slots. Have we sent that out yet?
Right.
We'll send those out Friday.
They'll go out in the Discord, and they'll be on the E4 calendar, so sign up for them. There'll be a link that goes out Friday with a spreadsheet, that you can put your name down for 1 or 2 slots.
Sweet. And from there, if anybody has any questions, we'd love to hear them.
We're really good at this.
I know. the
Okay.
best.
Question, we have a question.
Oh, we have a question. Wait, what? Yes.
The website said that it was a 3-room machine shop. What's the third?
It's Drew's shop.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
So we have the metal shop, which I'm sure you've walked by, the wood shop, I'm also sure you've walked by. And then our machine shop manager, Drew, has his own, like, 2 more shops. And so those have, you know, fancier 3D printers, fancier lathes, fancier mills, other tooling that you need. So if you need, you know, a different kind of tool, maybe you need, you know, cut an internal thread. Drew has the tools for that. So he'll take you to his shop. You'll be able to see it in all of its glory. And then he'll give you a tool.
That was definitely a historical thing. We had an older machine shop, the machine shop used to be in a different location and there was a rapid development, what do we call it, RDL, something like that, yeah. We had it split into wood shop, metal shop, and 3D printers, so.
That's the way. Drew's
Yeah.
shop is better.
Okay, True Shop is cool. Check it out if you have a chance. Sweet. I guess from there, are there any other questions? Comments, compliments? No, need those two. Cool. I tried. We'll go to the next slide. Let's get started with the shop tour. So,
Yes.
yeah, we're not gonna require proper attire just this one time, since we didn't really kind of warn you about this, so don't worry about